Alright, Joe Walker here, Yonah Mountain Farms. It is Wednesday, June 11th, about 3 o'clock. So we're about to move the cattle and the goats. They are right over there. I've already stretched my netting out. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's just essentially sitting right on top of this tremendous amount of brush. So the way we're gonna smash this down is just drive the truck over it. That way that's gonna give me a little area, you know, the size of my tire tracks to be able to put my post down. So there's the end. These are the 164-foot nettings. So we're just gonna park it right here. Excuse me. So we're just gonna park it right here, and it's not much what the tire tracks do, but it does help. So now, as you can see right here, it's just smashed down, you know, a single lane. I'm gonna go right inside this lane right here and run this netting, and then I got to run one more this way. And just really want to document the condition of this paddock before we turn the combined herd of cattle and goats into it. So there is a tremendous amount of forage in here. There's quite the diversity as well. So further back, we were running into almost a monoculture of ironweed. Well, now there's a lot more, so we're getting into a lot of grasses. That actually looks like Bermuda in there. I walked through what appeared to be a look at this pokeweed. It's as tall as me. Oh yeah, right here. This appears to be a large patch of fescue. I'd be willing to bet this was a spot that we bale grazed over the winter, so somewhere where I just dropped a big round bale. If we dig into this, we might actually, well, you can't, yeah, whatever was here is definitely decomposed. That's actually still wet under there. I mean, it is actually wet. I can feel the moisture, which is one of the great things about letting these plants grow and get so tall. I mean, that soil underneath here is just, I'd be willing to bet at least 15 degrees cooler, maybe even 20 degrees cooler than the ambient temperature. We're hitting about 80 today here in northeast Georgia. But yeah, the main purpose of this video is just to kind of document the condition of this paddock. And while I'm here, there's lots of blackberries. There's just tons of stuff in here. A lot of people would say this is not all that great. And actually, I mean, I've kind of thought that myself in the past. It's like, this isn't all that great. But the more I think about it, I mean, there's just a tremendous amount of diversity. So right here, let me explain what we've done right here. So this paddock is actually about 3 times as big as what they're getting now. So let me show you what they've had for 24 hours. So it's basically been 72 hours that they've had this entire paddock. But starting about right here, this is what they've had for 24 hours. So it's real similar. I mean, this could be hit a little harder in order to accomplish more of a total graze, but we don't want to violate the graze period or the rest period. And I get these terms, oh, I hate that I can't remember his name, Tom Krawiec, something like that. And I'll put the correction in, and I'll even try to make sure I put a print here on this video. But he's the author of Ranching Like a 12-Year-Old, which is a fantastic book, by the way. But he actually based a lot of his work off of Andre Voisin and the book Grass Productivity, where he discusses not violating the rest period, I believe it is. What does he say? Don't violate the rest period or the graze period. I can't remember exactly how he says it, but the gist of it is the grass is going to start regrowing within about 3 days. And what will happen is the cattle will go back and nip off that regrowth, which is probably the worst thing you can do for the plant. So in order to not violate that process, we have to get them off of here today. So essentially what happened, their very first paddock was down there. There's actually a goat. We'll just walk that way. Several goats on top of that brush pile. And into that tree line was their first paddock. Well, we needed to be able to hit this, the rest of this coming out towards the center of the pasture. We needed to be able to hit this with a real high density with a lot of animal impact. But at the same time, the animals need shade. So we started their first paddock back in the tree line, and that was day one. And then the next day, I just bumped them out. So I gave them essentially the same size as they had day one. I gave it to them day two, but they could always go back to get into the shade, because we didn't, with the way the sun's beating down now and we're here in the south, it's hot and humid. I wanted to make sure that they could get back to the shade. And the goats really love that brush pile. They've essentially turned that into a little house. There's tunnels. The dog is in there. And then so that was paddock one, then paddock two, then paddock three. But throughout all three paddocks, they've been able to come back to the shade. So we're essentially going to do the same thing right here. And that way we can get all the way to the center, at least to the center of the pasture, from one end to the other. You know, that's the center I'm talking about, but we'll be able to get to that while providing access to shade the whole time. But I really just want to document this and show you guys this heavy level of disturbance. So they've been here a total of 3 days. They haven't been on the same spot for 3 days. They grazed the first spot hard the first day. Second day they got the next paddock to where they would graze it, go back and rest in the shade. Graze it, go back and rest in the shade. Third day, same thing. And I actually watched them yesterday. They honestly wouldn't graze for very long. I thought it was interesting. The cows they'd come out and graze for maybe 20-30 minutes and then go right back to the shade and lay down. And I kind of expected them to graze straight on through, you know, for several hours and then go rest and then maybe get up for several hours again. I don't know why I thought they would do that, but I did. But anyhow, I'm gonna get this netting set up. We showed you how I pushed the forage down with the tires, and that's not ideal. Ideally, we wouldn't have anything touching this, which once I move them, I'll actually step this fence about a foot or so back this way just to get more of the growth off of it. So this does short out the fence, but all these guys are really used to this fence, and so it just takes a little bit of a shock to remind them that there is an electric fence there. So we don't really worry about it too much. And we do also have a pretty strong charger that's powering the whole perimeter, which is what the electric netting is hooked onto. So let me get this stepped in. Oh, and one more quick point. Yeah, the fence is running at about 3,000 volts, so that's not ideal. Typically 4,000 is our minimum, but like I said, since these guys are all broke to this, they respect it. It's not that big deal. I could probably honestly leave it off. They know they're going to get moved. They just tend to expect it, and they respect the fence. So Let me get this stepped in and we'll be back. Thanks. Okay, everybody's here, ready to move. I got the fence off, goats, cattle. I really want to talk about carbon sequestration to some extent. Scoot! Go to goats. Come on, cows. Let's get these guys moving on through here. Let's go. Come on, baby goat. Go to goats. Let's go. Come on, mama. Come on, girl. Okay, got everybody moved real quick. Cows are in here, goats are in here. Everybody's chowing down. And for a quick second, I would like to talk about a hot topic today, which is carbon sequestration. So, first off, disclaimer, I am definitely not a scientist. I am married to one, but I do find science fascinating. But yeah, I am not a scientist, and I really haven't studied carbon sequestration that much at all. Sure, I've read various articles or whatnot, but the idea of it is pretty simple. We want to sequester carbon out of the atmosphere and put it into the ground. And to me, it's just kind of common sense. So we do know from school, from elementary school or whatnot, that plants breathe in carbon and put out oxygen. So the plants do pull carbon out of the atmosphere. And what happens with animals, with livestock in particular, grazed in this manner, is the plant pulls the carbon out of the atmosphere, the animal comes, eats the plant, tramples the plant, takes what it's going to take out of it nutrient-wise, poops out the rest, and that is pulling the carbon out of the atmosphere and putting it into the ground. It's really just common sense. And when you look at this type of environment, this was bare ground a few months ago. You know, over winter there was nothing here. So we were feeding hay, and I'm sure I got some pictures or whatnot. So within a few short months, and this has already been grazed once. So within a few short months, these plants have grown tremendously, almost as tall as me. You know, some of them probably are as tall as me. I think, yeah, as a matter of fact, like this pokeweed and some of this other stuff is actually taller than me. So this is a lot of carbon that has been drawn out of the atmosphere. And now, here come the animals. They're going to eat it. They're going to defecate. They're going to trample it. It's not being released back up into the atmosphere. Now, there are concerns with methane. So cow farts, methane, all that stuff. Well, come to find out, studies now are showing that methane is what it is. So however much methane a blade of grass or a leaf is going to emit is the same whether it dies and decomposes naturally or whether it runs through a cow. So methane is essentially a non-issue. But we do know that carbon in the atmosphere is an issue. And for those of you that haven't watched it, I would highly suggest the documentary Kiss the Ground. I used to actually be a skeptic when it comes to the whole global warming thing. I say this as we see these up in the sky. But anyway, that's for a whole later discussion. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. But sorry, I lost all train of thought here. Oh yeah, so in the movie Kiss the Ground, the documentary Kiss the Ground, we learned that it's actually not the emissions from vehicles and stuff. Sure, those play a role, but that doesn't hold a candle to the amount of carbon emissions that happen every year when folks fire up them tractors and start tilling the ground. Because all that carbon that has been sequestered during the growing season through their crops or whatnot gets put into the soil. They come through, rip it up, and it's right back into the atmosphere. And there's actually, imagery that can show the release of carbon into the atmosphere. But anyhow, I just wanted to give y'all my quick thoughts on carbon sequestration from a layman's perspective, from an uneducated individual's perspective, which is definitely me, but it does make complete sense that when animals are grazed like this, with mass amounts of carbon running through the animal and put back onto the ground, that this is a superior method of sequestering carbon out of the atmosphere and putting it where it belongs, into the soil. Thanks for watching.